Hello there. This is James, and you're watching OneRoyal, and it's live. In today's program, I want to discuss how the market is almost sort of like, waiting with bated breath because of a certain testimony starting today. As well as that, I want to I will look, but I also want to talk about my beloved yellow metal hitting another all-time high and realistically what the market is waiting for tomorrow. But before I get into all of that, don't forget these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. So, yes, indeed, today is the day that Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, heads to Washington because he is scheduled to testify before Congress starting today and including tomorrow. He's expected to discuss the current economic landscape. Now, this is often, an occasion. He hasn't been there since July last year, so this is quite an exciting thing. But the market looks at this to try and get some sort of heads up or some sort of idea of what he and the Fed may do in the future. Now, in their last interest rate decision and press conference, the Fed maintained the policy rate between 4.25% to 4.5%. Now, I do believe, and a lot of analysts like me are actually thinking, in this testimony, he's going to empathize a cautious approach. Okay, because, last year they did around about 3-4 rate cuts, and they were quite, obviously, fairly dovish and wanted to, put a bit of energy into the U.S. economy. Now, since December, they've been a little bit more on the back foot. They've been a little bit more cautious. Okay, so realistically, as it stands at the moment, this is why this is important, because it might give us a heads up of what they might do. You might, but at the moment, the market is sort of expecting possibly only one rate cut this year in maybe June or July. And end of last year, they were expecting maybe 3-4 by the Fed, but now their expectation has gone way down. So, yeah, it's pretty underwhelming. Now, as well as that, Powell is expected, and this is important obviously for the crypto market, he's expected as well to address cryptocurrency regulation. Now, don't forget, Bitcoin, in the end of December, hit an all-time high of over 100,000. This was down to the fact that they thought, well, Trump's coming in and he's quite friendly for the crypto market. He wants to deregulate a number of assets and a number of things, Bitcoin being one of them, or cryptocurrency being one of them. And he even suggested at the time of maybe taking on cryptocurrency as part of the National Reserve of the United States. So it's going to be quite interesting. We'll have a look at Bitcoin in a minute, actually, because since it's hit its highs, it's lost a bit of wind out of its sails, so to speak. So anyway, be interesting to see what Powell has to say on the cryptocurrencies. As well as that, though, to be fair, it's going to be Trump, it's going to be tariffs, and it's going to be inflation is going to weigh on his mind when he does this testimony. Because let's face it, first of all, Trump has never been outspoken about how he feels about the Fed not decreasing interest rates. He wants them to decrease interest rates. And he's been quite, outspoken or, talked about it quite openly, how he's disappointed the Fed is not doing anything with cutting rates. So that's going to weigh on his mind. Don't forget the Fed is a separate institution. Don't forget, they have their own minds. They have their own practices, okay? They aren't really dictated to that much by the sitting government. They have to answer to the sitting government, don't get me wrong, but they do tend to have their own mind. As well as that, of course, it's the tariffs implication to the United States, this trade war. What's that got to do? What's that going to do to the US economy and the job market? And of course, inflation. Because obviously tariffs will, without a doubt, increase inflation in the United States. Because don't forget, it's the consumer who really pays for the tariffs. It's out of our pocket. It's not from China. They don't pay it. We end up paying it. So that's going to be a big thing on inflation. And moving on to that is the next big event, which is probably the main event for economic indicators wise, is obviously US CPI due tomorrow. Now, the expectation is for it to come out the previous number of 2.9%. Don't forget, okay, their target is 2%. Moving on, before we look at our charts, and we'll have a quick look at the market. Don't forget, so again, I talked about gold yesterday. I always talk about gold. I love gold. It's so shiny and pretty. No, it's the first thing I ever traded, so I do have a special soft spot for it. But because of the tariff concerns, guess what? Gold hit another all-time high during the Asian session today. Another all-time high. Traded, in fact, around about 2,000. Let me have a look, actually, confirm what it went to. It went to $2,943.52 an ounce. That's an all-time high. I mean, almost regularly now it's hitting all-time highs. Since then, obviously, we've had a bit about profit taking, and this is what is holding gold back at the moment. As well as that, the other safe haven, because I say the market is concerned at the moment about what the future holds, so they are looking towards safe havens. Okay, so they are looking towards safe havens. So the other safe haven standing out, which the market's sort of more going to at the moment, other than gold, is indeed the US dollar. But anyway, let's have a quick look at the market. Let's start off with gold, obviously. Let's start off with gold and see where we are with that. Like I say, look, today, during the Asian session, because of these tariff fears again, and also what he also said as well, don't forget, Trump also said something else. He also said, and this is what spooked the market as well. I mean, it's never boring with him, is it? He also said that Hamas has got to release the hostages by 12 o'clock p.m. or 12 noon on Saturday. And in his words, or else all hell will break loose. What that means, I don't know. So, because obviously flight to safety for gold. But anyway, it's moved. What's the high of $2,943.33. Since then, of course, now it's trading back around just about $901. Okay, so obviously we've got a barrel profit taking. And like I already mentioned, we have got a stronger greenback currently. If we look at on a daily, though, I mean, that uptrend is still looking, like potential uptrend still looking pretty strong and pretty solid. So that's quite something interesting. Let's have a quick look as well as that now at the other currencies, because like I say, we are seeing dollar strength currently. The euro's managed to bounce back a little bit. It's still very dangerous, though. It's still at 1.03372. If we look on the daily, on a longer picture, okay, we're just still, it's trading above that downtrend, which I put in ages ago, trading just above it, but it's still looking very, very fragile. And euro really interests me. I'm really keeping a close eye on the euro this year. Let's look at the cable. We obviously had Bank of England Governor Bailey speak today. He was a teeny weeny, a little bit dovish about this current state. Again, don't forget the Bank of England cut rates last week, and they are hinting at doing more cuts this year. If we have now, I want to say, have a look at Bitcoin as well. I mean, currently trading at 96,927, so a fair bit off, but not massively off the all-time high. Today, though, I think, it's there's a lot of bears with Bitcoin at the moment. I think there's a lot of bearish sentiment for it. And some reports that some analysts believe it could go all the way potentially to 90,000. So anyway, it's definitely off the highs, but it'll be interesting to see what Jerome Powell says later today in relation to regulation for the cryptocurrency market. Anyway, so, like I say, we've still got a fun-packed week ahead of us. Like I say, Powell testifying today and tomorrow. US CPI, which is going to be the main event. UK GDP, Germany CPI, and US PPI, which of course is Producer Price Index, and US retail sales. So plenty of fun still to be had this week. Don't forget, these are indeed live shows, so you can ask me questions anytime you like, or indeed if you want, just share with me your opinion, what you think about what Powell may say today in his testimony. I mean, where do you think gold's going to finally go? Have we seen the high now? We're going to see it start to crash. How about Bitcoin? Let me know what your opinion on Bitcoin is. By all means, share with me. Because like I say, these shows are live and we're slowly, bit by bit, building a community. Again, like I say, if you enjoyed this type of content, by all means, give us one of these. It's nice to know that you like what we do. And again, by all means, hit the notification button so next time we're going live. And why not? Subscribe if you like, so you can always be available to all our lives. And don't forget, we'll be doing live shows at least once a day. That leads me to say, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.